Good morning. Happy Thursday. It's Thursday. Hope everything is great where you are. It has been just spectacular weather here in Northern Illinois. It's been a beautiful week, and my office has been shut down because of 2 positive COVID. So I've been able to work remotely and go sit outside and get some sunshine, but I can't get a haircut. So we've been talking about state and the 3 things that determine the state that you're feeling at any given time: physiology, focus/belief, and now this time we're going to be talking about language. All of these are equally as important. So don't think because language came last, it isn't as important as physiology or focus/belief. Physiology is the quickest, but it doesn't mean that language isn't just as significant. And the first part of this, we're going to talk about this for 2 days. The first part of this is I want you to just start paying attention to the language that you use in your life, but also the language that everybody else is using around you. Businesses, big companies, advertisers, they have understood all of these different things that I'm talking about for a long time. Movies, television, they get the power of changing your focus, of changing your physiology, and the power of language. I invite you to turn on the Weather Channel sometime in the next 24 hours, or turn on a channel that's going to have an advertisement for the Weather Channel. There's a reason that the Weather Channel doesn't just say, we're going to tell you the weather. So if you want to know the weather, turn on the Weather Channel. They don't do that. They use these unbelievably large words in order to try to get you to turn on the Weather Channel. So they'll say things like horribly, catastrophic, ridiculously devastating weather patterns. We have so many things fighting for our attention that in order for something as boring as the Weather Channel to get our attention, they have to say things like that. You know, it used to be, when I first started practicing law, we learn a little bit about advertising when we go to these seminars that we do, these law seminars, but I learned a lot more going to the Tony Robbins events, of course. 28 years ago, today's the 4th, 28 years ago as of today, I have been practicing law. Holy crap. 28 years ago, if you were a marketing person, your goal was to have 6 to 8 touches on an individual, which meant contacts. So they either heard you on the radio, or they saw you on television, or they read about you in print, or they saw you on a billboard. If you had 6 to 8 contacts with somebody, then you would stick in their head. And if something came up that was relevant to you, then they would think of you and they would call you. So around here, like Empire Carpets, they had this jingle that was their phone number, 588-2300, and they played that again and again and again and again. Repetition is the mother of skill. And so then it was stuck in your head. So if you thought about carpet, you went, oh, let's call Empire Carpets. That number is now up to 16 touches that as an advertiser you need to have in order to stick in somebody's mind. But, so that's why, they have to now repeat this stuff so much. But if they do that with emotion, just like when we talked about 9/11, everybody can remember where they were and what was happening at 9/11 because it was such an emotional moment that, like doing a record, a vinyl record, that groove got deeper and it's easier to remember. So advertisers try to do that same thing. They try to move you emotionally, and they do it with language. And so for today, one of the first things that we're going to do is pay attention to language. And you're going to pay attention to language of things that you're watching. So if you're watching the news, if you're reading about election results, look at the language that is used by the people that are trying to influence you. Watch commercials. Commercials are the greatest at using these 3 things to create anchors so that they try to create a a memory in your head so that when you think of a product, you think of that particular commercial. But also pay attention, what's the language that you use on a regular basis? Do you use positive language or do you use negative language? And do you use language that exacerbates the good things or the bad things? Or do you do both? So, think about a lot of times when somebody comes in and sees me or calls me up, the first thing that I'll do is I'll change their language, because if you change the language, you change the feeling. So they'll say something like, this was devastating. Okay, well, what happened? Well, my car got hit by a deer. All right, are you hurt? No. Okay, well, bummer. But is it devastating? It's a car. I mean, you didn't lose a child. That would be devastating. And then, yeah, I guess you're right. It's a car. All right, so now we've changed the language, we've changed the feeling, we've changed the belief, and then we've changed the emotional response to that event. We've gone from devastating to bummer. And it sounds like, is it really that simple? Yeah, it's actually really that simple, but it's also that powerful. Another thing that I'll do, insurance companies have spent a large amount of money to get you to cause a car wreck, an accident. And everybody does. It was an accident. Okay, now if you look on the state police report that you have to fill out when there's been a wreck, they don't call it an accident. They call it a collision or they call it a wreck. When two cars run into each other, it's the fault of either the driver, the vehicle, or the road, or a combination of the three. It's not an accident. It's somebody's fault. Why do insurance companies spend so much money to cause it an accident? When you see their commercials, they use that word again and again and again and again. And you don't get the opportunity to use that word that much, thank goodness. So they plant that into your head. Why? Because then when you go in front of a jury, if you say the word accident, jury tends to go, okay, well, it wasn't really anybody's fault, so we shouldn't do anything about this. Well, yes, it was somebody's fault, and the law says that you do have to do something about that. So we don't call it an accident, we call it a wreck. It's a wreck. That language changes the approach to that situation. The same can be true with everything that you're doing in your life. When something happens, do you use language that makes it the end of the world? I was low on gas and I got to stop and get gas. Oh my God, this is the end of the world. It's catastrophic. It's overwhelming. Whatever language you're using is going to define how you feel. That's why we say things like, I'm breaking down. Are you breaking down or are you breaking through? That language change completely changes your feeling to that particular situation. I'm overwhelmed. Okay, great. Then let's look at one thing at a time. Rather than looking at everything, just look at one. Change the language about overwhelmed. I have a great opportunity to sift through a large number of things. Yeah, sometimes if you add words, it helps. So, if you lose your job, okay, I now finally have the opportunity to start my own business. I have a career change opportunity. That's a lot different than I got fired. Feels a lot better. Language defines the feeling that then is interpreted by physiology and interpreted by focus and belief. Language is the definition. Physiology creates the chemical reaction as to how your body's going to respond, and focus is what you are putting into your body, and belief decides the interpretation of that. Language is the definition of all of this stuff. And again, you decide how you define everything. And the great way to do that is through language. So for today, pay attention. Pay attention to the language that you're using to describe yourself. When somebody says, how are you? Do you say things like, oh, I'm getting by, or I'm hanging in there? Or do you say, I'm thriving? I feel amazing. Life is great. Life is a gift. Life is tremendous. I have tons of ideas and opportunities in front of me. Now, I understand if you say stuff like that to people, they get ticked off because they want you to be unhappy just like them. But you might break their state and you might make their day a lot better. Are you groovy? Are you neato? Are you incredible? Are you amazing? Or are you depressed? And these languages that we incant become our definitions of these events, and they even define us. You use language to define yourself all the time, and I guarantee that it's 2 or 3 words that you use the majority of the time to describe how you are. What are they? And if you're feeling up to it, share them. Let us know what you use, and let everybody know that you know what you use, because that decides how you feel every day. And at the end of this whole journey, don't we want to look back at days and feel good no matter what's going on? You can always find something to be happy about. You can always find something to be pissed off about. That's your choice as to how you want to live. So for today, language that you use on a regular basis. What are your go-to words? We all got them. What's your go-to catchphrase? We've all got a catchphrase and a transitional phrase. My dad's is, as far as that's concerned. Mine is, in any case. We've all got a catchphrase. We've all got a transitional phrase. And then pay attention to language on commercials. And try to find, the language they use for dumb ones. Look at beer commercials. Look at fast food commercials. Watch these things and watch how they use all of this stuff in order to manipulate you with regards to that. And I use the word manipulate in a good way, okay? Not all manipulation is bad. They're trying to get you to buy their product. Well, that's what a commercial is supposed to do. But you can use those same techniques to put yourself in a completely different situation. So, for today, language that you use on a regular basis. How do you describe yourself? Catchphrases, transitional phrases, and then watch the television and put up some language that you see on various newscasts or, what are the advertisements for the news or for the weather or for something else, and let's have a little fun. Watch how these people do what they do, because you know what? They're really good at it. If you watch McDonald's, if you watch beer commercials, they are really good at what they do. Also, your favorite movies, same thing. Really good at what they do. And we'll describe more of that as we go forward. Have a great day, everybody. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other. Thanks for watching.